Go ahead, Yehudi Tara.
Okay, thank you everybody who was reading and praying for us this morning. It's my very great privilege and honor this morning to welcome back Leah. Leah, you've been giving to us over and over and over again. We're very grateful to you and looking forward again to being on this journey with the Lost Princess. Thank you so much for what you're giving to us.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Happy Purim. It's I just feel such a privilege to be back here again, and especially to be starting today. When Naomi asked me which days I prefer, I said Tuesdays, because before for Shabbos, Tuesday is my favorite day. Tuesday is the day that Hashem said, "Pamayim ki tov." It's a day which has a lot of energy. It's a day we can really get together and gather up, everything we need for Shabbos, start preparing for Shabbos. It's a day of renewal. And that's really what life's about, renewal. I don't see it's recording, sorry. If everyone could put themselves on mute. And I don't see it's recording, Naomi.
The recording's on, Leah, yes.
Okay. So as we said, today is Purim Katan. I think someone's not on mute, sorry, there's a lot of background noise. If you could please put yourself on mute, everyone.
Okay. It's Naomi, she's not by her phone. She must not be by her phone. Can one of the co-hosts mute Naomi?
Okay, great. So Purim Katan Sameach, everyone. We know that Purim Katan is really nothing Katan at all. It's a day which has all the spiritual energy, the spiritual opportunities that we can tap into, just as Purim is. It's a day where our tefillahs are so readily opened and welcomed and answered. And it's a great day. It's a great joy. And we really get a bonus when there's two adults, because we get the real Purim and we get this preview for Purim. So we can really start preparing ourselves from now with all the real excitement and the simcha, which increases as Adar enters and continues. So as I was preparing the class, I was just thinking, and this is something which really is my thoughts, and I'm just sharing, I'm not sure it's exactly accurate, but I was having this idea that really we can think of Queen Esther Malka, as really the lost princess who's found. Really an idea that here she was also a princess in a castle, and she was also in this place of Hastara, a place of hiddenness. And the Jews were really decreed to be destroyed as a nation. And here she was in this place, and she was the queen. And what did she do? Now we remember the last princess, what did she do? When she felt that Hashem had deserted her, so she cried and ran to her room. And that's what her grave mistake was. And now that's what we're learning about, how we have to free her and how we can tap into that energy again to free her. But Esther Malka, she also had a tzaddik. She had the viceroy, Mordechai. And he used to come around and he was always watching over the castle. And maybe he was reminding her the whole time of that Nekudat Tova, that Chelek Elokel Mimal, which has inside of her, that she has to remember who she is. She is a Bas Melech, she is the princess. And she's not the queen of Achashverosh's castle and all the vanity and all the gashmias and externalities that were represented. We know it was a place of, Achashverosh's feast or something like, wow, we can't even begin to understand what it was there. But she didn't get involved in all that. And what did she do? As I so beautifully read now, Perek Chaf chapter 22 of Tehillim, it's said that this is the Perek that she said before she went into Achashverosh for the meeting, where all this Purim miracle and the story of Purim really started from that point. And what did she do? She didn't feel, Hashem doesn't love me and he doesn't want me. And she didn't fall into that space of Yeush like our princess did. She cried out to Hashem. She said, Katie, lama zavtuni. Hashem, have you forsaken me? Have you abandoned me? And she goes on to describe, who is she? Like, she's nothing. What am I? Without you, Hashem, I'm nothing. And you created me and you formed me in the womb. So today, this is the power of Esther Malka. And this is her power. And Mordechai at Tzaddik, where in our family, we all light candles. I always buy tea lights. Every grocery shop, I buy tea lights. In my house, we really connect to candles. And even my youngest, who's 10, there's a plate of candles on the dining room table. I think she lights in the matches, but she always says the name and davens. And today, to light that candle for Esther Malka and Mordechai and Yehudi, the Tzaddik, the viceroy within us, to help us renew ourselves and to catch into this koach. And then Esther Malkachik continues and says, Al tichach mimeni. Don't go away. Don't distance yourself from me. And she cries out, save me now. And because she cried out, save me now, and didn't cry into her own self-pity and despair and yush, so what happened? We were saved as a nation. I mean, it's incredible. I was just thinking how, all the details are there, but we just see how it can be. We can see what it can mean to live in that princess spirit, that we can really make a difference in our lives, in the nation. We know that we are all so intercountable for each other. And we have such a power to be really influence the world. We really have that power. So that was just my thoughts on connecting this day. And I mean, there's so many skuddas that people say. Some people say Perek Chav Beis every day in Adar. Some people say today. People have a seuda. You dance, put a bit of music on, dance by yourself, dance with your children. You feel it. It's almost Purim. It's really Purim. We're going to have another Purim. So, but today, feel that however you can. And it's such a good day for tefillah. We can discuss later when we end off what we can really think about in terms of this class. But just as a recap, where we left off the last time, before the 2 weeks of Adar, which we've had an amazing program. I've seen some of the classes. Really, each speaker has given such a light and such a enrichment to our Yiddishkeit, to our world, to our everyday living, to connecting to Hashem, to feeling Hashem. And the last class I was supposed to give, so unfortunately, but I missed the class because my husband wanted to take my kids away to see snow. Now, for some of you, that may sound like a total, what does it mean even? But I grew up in South Africa. I saw snow maybe twice in my life. I never experienced a snowstorm, experiencing the snowflakes falling on me. And my children, they also never experienced it because we live in the center of Israel. We don't have parents, grandparents, or, aunts and uncles in Yerushalayim or anywhere where there's snow. So all of their friends every year, not every year, but every time it snows, they all go somewhere. They go to the grandparents, they go to their aunt. They all have a cousin or someone to experience the snow. And every year, my kids always feel like, only I don't know what snow is. And my husband said, the next time it's going to snow, let's make a decision. We're going to take them to the snow, no matter what. And just you have to remind me in time because he has to organize his work, etc. And this year, it was for sure it's going to snow. Sometimes they have, maybe snow in Yerushalayim, maybe not. We're not going to go so far up to the Golan or wherever, far, but just near. So he booked a thing and he surprised me just at the last minute. I didn't even know about this, but he booked a hotel and we went away for the night. Now, it's not like in America, where my friends were all going they're on their winter vacation, the midwinter vacation, going to Florida, to Arizona and all over, escaping the snow and the cold. So yeah, my kids were in normal school. I just took them out of school and they actually missed tests, but I just said, this is an experience I want to give them. And to be honest, I wanted to give to myself. And at my age, so there's not many things you can really experience for the first time. I mean, I'm not that old, I'm not that young. So, I've had children, I haven't married off children yet, but I have children, I have go through experiences with them, whatever that entails, the good and the bad. And I never really, to experience something for the first time, how many new foods can I really taste that you can really feel something new, so fresh, so close to Hashem. And we went to this hotel and I really have no words to describe. I was up the whole night. My husband went to sleep at some stage, about 2:30 in the morning. And the whole night, I was like doing selfies, videoing myself. I just wanted to capture that feeling. I was so excited. Every snowflake that fell is not at all what I imagined it to be. I imagined it to be something cold and like an unpleasant experience. It was like this gentleness of Hashem, like kissing me and embracing me. And there was such a lightness of being and such a glow I felt in the snow. And I was telling my friends and they're like, oh, wow, that's what snow is. Because they run away from the snow. It's just so much part of their routine. They don't even look twice. Maybe it's okay. Maybe the kids, build a snowman, have a snow fight here and there. But to experience the snow as a first time with that princess spirit, it's last for them. And it reminded them. And I was just so grateful to Hashem to have that experience. And that's really brings us to where we are today in our story. Because remember, we want to free the princess. And freeing the princess, it's not about, it's a beautiful parable, this mashal of a king and a daughter and a castle and guards and everything. But we know it's not a figurative thing. It's something it's a spiritual energy we're discussing here. So if it was a literal castle with a princess, we could hire the best military army out there that would come up with some technique. They'd be able to get in and, capture the princess and free her. But how do you capture the spirit of the princess? How do we actually free that? How do we do that? So first, we've got to just remind ourselves how she got there and where we're actually at in the stage of the story. So we can understand how she got there. We can understand how to extract her from that place. This is a very deep concept, and I daven Hashem to get this over. It took me a very long time. I think after a year and a half, I finally chapped it today, like properly. I hope so, please Hashem. And there's a concept called emulative extraction, which really means how are we going to free the princess by emulating her characteristics, those traits, that spirit of the princess, which was present, which always is present, but it's now being given over to the no good side. We have to emulate those characteristics the princess had before. And by emulating those characteristics, we can free her from the captivity of the no good. Because how did she fall into that place? And this is really where we meet her in our story in chapter 8, for those who are following in the Sefer, when the princess and the viceroy have just met and he recognizes her. And then he looks at her and he says to her, how did you get here? Like he's looking at this princess who was so pure and is so pure and so full of holiness. And not only is she captive in this castle, but she's the queen. They're actually living off her. She's giving life force to this place of no good, to this life of materialism and vanity and meaninglessness. So she says to him, and we can just imagine the pain of this conversation. I mean, the pain is real. She says, when the king said to me, may the no good one take you. So, I ran to my room and I was in tears. And we can think of ourselves when we've been in that place sometimes, in that place of darkness where we feel like Hashem doesn't want us. And where are we and what are we worth? And we get into a place of that kind of almost despair. And we need to catch ourselves at that moment and remind ourselves who we are. At our core, we are holy. There's no such thing. But she doesn't do this. This is a mistake that we keep discussing and, what we're learning about here. And she gets so depressed and she runs and she's crying in the room and she's crying out in pain. And she feels alone and she feels confused and scared and all these negative emotions of self-doubt and, and loss of self-worth and all this negativity. And she falls lower and lower. And she gets into a place of despair. And that place of despair, Yeush, which is one of the final, I would say, is one of the most fundamental principles of Breslev Hasidus, is Ein Yeush Ba'olam Klal. There's no such thing as despair. There can't be despair because we're part of Hashem, and Hashem is always there and always present and always loving and always giving. So we always have to have, that idea that there is no despair ever. And she fell into despair, and then when she was in a place of despair, she's actually explaining to the viceroy what happens in the place of despair. The no good one grabbed hold of her. He waits and he prays on those people who fall into that space. And we can connect this again to Purim, because that's the Amalek. When we were leaving Mitzrayim and they're trying to cool us off, and every day, constantly, he's trying to cool us off from our Yiddishkeit, from that feeding of fire and love and desire and ratzon to live a life of meaning and purpose, inspired living. So Amalek is working very hard, and when we fall into Yeush, he controls us within a minute. And then it's very hard. And then he says, how can I get you out of here? And the princess says, it's impossible to get me out of here. You have to choose for yourself a place and stay there for a full year. And this really is where our story is going to really begin in a very real way. If until now we've been trying to understand, the first few chapters, what is the princess? What is this princess spirit? What are we talking about? What are we referring to? How is this practical in our life? So today we're going to look at how we really can, once we've recognized what it is, how we can really free her. And this is our intention for today. We're going to take this sentence that she says to the viceroy, choose for yourself a place and stay there for a full year. And these words, we're going to go into great detail and please God, understand how we can free the princess within ourselves. So firstly, she says, choose for yourself a space, a makom. When we think of a place, what place is she talking about? That place is a place of certainty, a place of feeling at home, of this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, this is what I live for. This is me. If you strip away all my externalities, my profession, my mother, my home, whatever it is, this is who I am. This is what I live for. This is what I believe in. That space of understanding the unconditional love of Hashem, that relationship, that it's me and Hashem loves me totally for who I am, for He created me and He sustains me. And every day that I live is proof that He loves me and He believes in me. And that's a place of certainty. It's a place of knowing. It's a place of warmth and security and comfort. Rav Klein brings in his sefer, and in a few of his shiurim, he brings this up as well, the difference between a house and a hotel. So a person packs away for holiday. They get excited. They plan the hotel, all the facilities, the kind of rooms they want, whatever, according to their budget. And they pack up and they go on their journey. And they arrive in the hotel and wow, it's so beautiful. And the beds and the linen smell great and the towels and, the bath salts and the foam bath. And everything is just like great. And the food and the facilities, maybe there's a swimming pool, a spa, a gym. It's like, wow, wow, wow. So much renewal and freshness, and it's great. And we've been there for a while, and our time has passed, and it's time to come home. And hopefully we pack up all that renewal with us, we take it into a bubble, and we can breathe back into that bit of air. And we take that bubble home, and we go travel back home. And we arrive at home, it's late at night, and maybe the kids are cranky, and everyone's half asleep, and everyone's exhausted. And we don't even unpack the car fully. We just take, the necessities, and we put in the key, and we open the door, and we walk into our home. And maybe our home is not as fancy as the hotel. Maybe the walls need a paint job. And maybe our beds already have like a shape, dented into the mattress. It's not those beautiful firm orthopedic beds in the hotel. And maybe our linen could also be a bit refreshed, But it's home. We inhale that feeling of being at home. This is my place. This is me. This is my sacred place where I feel safe and secure, and nothing can disturb that space. And when he says, choose yourself a space, she's saying to him, choose yourself that space, from that space of certainty, of stability, I know who I am. I know who I'm worth. I have Hashem, and he loves me unconditionally, and this is who I am. So that's the first aspect of that place. And really, this place is connected to also another place, which the Breslev and Mashpim teach us, that when we hear of the place of the word Hamakom, we know it's also referring to Hashem. Hamakom is that place of Hashem, and in Hashem is a place of us. Hashem contains inside of himself a space for every single Jew, and every single Jew in each of us contains that place for Hashem. So it's also that place of Hashem, of being with Hashem, and being in existence with Hashem, which is something very, very deep, because that's something. It's not a space in terms of a place and time. It's something on a different level, in a spiritual realm, of that knowingness, of that togetherness with Hashem. It's that feeling of your home when you enter your home. Wherever you go in the world, to the fanciest places, you're always going to think of home and feel secure and safe and whole. No matter if it's a dilapidated, place which needs a lot of renovations, it's still that home, that space which nothing else can give you. So these are the two ideas of the space, what that means. But before we choose the space, we have to first resolve to want to change. And resolving to want to change in order to find that space is really when the princess recognizes, and the viceroy explains, that the king is so pained by you gone. Because she thought she was a lost case. She thought, not only have I really, disappointed the king because I ran away, but even more so, I'm now the queen of this place of no good. So I'm even an embarrassment to the family. Like, he would never want me back. I just given up the thought of returning home even. But when the viceroy says, the king is so pained, and he's long forgiven you for that apathy of that day, and even more so, he loves you even more and is yearning for you even more to come home. So really, the queen, the lost princess, she's now reawakened, and she decides, I can change. I can make a change. I'm resolving to make a change. I'm resolving to make a change in my life. In those meaningless years that I've spent here in this place of no good and whatever I've been doing, it can all be rectified. In that space of really returning to who I am, and that's about tshuva. And Rabbi Nachman teaches in the Kotei Moran, the 6th lesson, he says that a person who hasn't done tshuva, she doesn't really have an existence in this world. I mean, she may be living, but she hasn't found that space for herself. He says it's almost as if it's not worth being created, because he hasn't found that space of connecting, to Hashem, of I will, I can change. And once a person has done tshuva, so then they become a different reality. They become into a place of I am, I have an existence, I can. And once the princess has resolved this, that she wants to change, and then she tells the viceroy how he can actually, help her escape from here. And she says the sentence, you have to choose for yourself a place and stay there for a full year. So this is the first of there's 3 elements of this. The first element is resolving to change. The second element is that space. And then we're going to go into the third element of the choice. The choosing is an idea on a literal basis. We can choose what we want to do. But really, it's in that space of being able to choose that we can connect to the princess spirit. Because we are still in the ability, no matter what we've done or where we are or what we've faced or facing or will face, we can always choose to make the right decision. And this decision is something which we choose the right decision because we have the stability. We found that place of connecting with Hashem, to that makom. So we find our place. In finding that place, we can now choose. And there's even a deeper way of looking at this. That choice is actually because we can choose, we have a place. And this is something which Rabbi Nachman teaches, and Rabbi Klein brings in the Sefer in the name of Rabbi Nosson of Nimirov, where it was overheard that someone asked the Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman, how do you understand free choice? How do you understand Bechira? And he says, Bechira is it's very simple. If you want to, you can. If you want to act, you can act. And if you don't want to, you don't act. It's your choice. You have the choice, which really means no matter what we've done in our lives, no matter what our upbringing is, no matter where we find ourselves right now today in this Purim Katan, we can change. We can make the right decisions. We can choose to resolve to come closer to Hashem, to reawaken the princess spirit in that area, which sometimes in Baruch Hashem, we ladies who are growing and learning, and every day we get so inspired. We're all on this journey, but we all have that weak spot. And if we're honest with ourselves and we take a deep look in, we can see where is our weak spot. Is it what we're watching? Is it what we're saying? Is it what we're eating? Is it the way we eat? We all have something which we feel, okay, well, that's my weak spot and that's always how I'm going to be. But that's not true. And Nachman is teaching us here, if you want to act, you can act. You can change that. And this is, a very important part of this whole choice of the viceroy, having to, reconnect to this, what we discussed as imitative extraction, of connecting to the midas of the princess, which once were. We reconnect into that, to the ability to choose, to my connection to Hashem, to know that at our core we are holy. All these ideas, we're really bringing in with this idea of tshuva, and that's how we're going to be able to free the princess within ourselves and within the world. We're speaking on a very large scale. Each and every one of us can affect the entire world. We are bringing Geula. These classes and praising Hashem, we are bringing Geula. We are part of this process. It's not something foreign to us, something out there which will happen. We are that Geula. We are that awakening. We are that princess. And just to end off is really when she says to him afterwards, and you have to be there for a full year. So what is the significance of time here? What is a full year? A full year is a long period of time. If I look back in my life the past year, a lot has happened. There's been challenges, there's been joy. There's been things that are still continuing, they haven't finished yet. I'm still waiting for the Yeshua and davening and crying out to Hashem, Keli, Keli. I feel that, I really do. And I'm sure we all have some place where we still feel we need that Yeshua. And a full year means you've experienced a full year of working and internalizing and really searching for the princess and rediscovering this place. It's going through 4 seasons, the winter, summer, snow, the different the elements of the Chagim, Purim, Pesach, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. We have to go through all that, which brings with it so much energy and so much spiritual energy and potential. And maybe sometimes we've tapped in and maybe sometimes we didn't tap in. And everything's okay, and we fall and we can fall and we get up again. And that's part of the spirit of renewal. And that's part of what I would like to say, maybe we can take away from this day in this class, is really just tap into that spirit of renewal and the ability and that hope. And it's such a powerful day. If everyone can take 5 minutes and just sit by yourself and just open your heart to Hashem, and feel like Queen Esther. She went into Achashverosh and, Keli, Lama Zavtoni Hashem, you can't leave me. You can't leave me because I can't without you. We need you. And in those moments, we can really connect to the car, and we can connect ourselves with these kashros to Mordechai and to the Mordechai Tzaddik and to Esther Malka, whose presence is so much felt in today. Light that candle, do something to really feel the day. And then we're going to learn next week, just to give a sneak preview, which is my favorite chapter. I think I say that about every second chapter. It's my favorite sefer, okay? So I'm not being very objective. But the next chapter, chapter 9, we really look into the idea of Ratzon and that holy desire. What does the viceroy have to do in that space for a year, in that place? He has to yearn. He has to yearn to want to free her. We need to yearn to want to free the princess within ourselves. We want to reconnect and reignite, and we want to yearn for that. And that's what we're going to go into next week in Met Hashem. So I'd like to just end off with a really short tefillah written by Jacob Klein. It's just very beautiful. The words say everything. Master of the universe, place of all existence, please grant me the strength to truly be. Allow for my belief in the ever-present ability to choose to guide me toward a new beginning, surrounded by your understanding embrace. Father in heaven, you have been with me since the womb. You alone know how deeply I long for certainty, clarity, comfort, stability, and confidence. You alone experience the pain I feel in my confusion. I reach out to you for assistance, the only one who can grant me the makom I so desperately need. Please allow me to take root and begin to flourish. So I think that's something which David Melech could have written. It's just so beautiful. And I'm just down to Hashem that we should all have the ability to connect to the potential of today and to the poem which is going to come and to the rest of Adar, to really connect to who we are, to rediscover and to reignite the inner princess within us. And that light will radiate into the whole world and will bring about the Yeshua of the Geula Koiva. B'mher b'yameinu.